Welcome to the Time to Unpack talk show. I am your host, Tiffany. And today, our session's topic is going to be on life's purpose. Do you know what your purpose is? And are you a rebel or a responder? Today, we have with us our guest, author, Tracy Hugie, here to discuss the purpose process. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiff.
Okay. So I had a chance to read your book, and I might add that it has inspired me. It is very, very awesome. I love the content and the simplicity of the read. So let's just start off talking about, first of all, what is a rebel and a responder?
Okay, a rebel, as Webster defines it, is someone who comes against an authority. Okay, a responder is someone who is called upon to make a response or an action to a request that's made,
okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about rebels or responder in the context of the book, how are you responding or rebelling to your divine design?
Wow.
Okay. Right? And so sometimes, whether it be family members, friends, when you're called upon to make a response and you're being called to do something that you know that you can't live without doing, they say, well, in this family, we're all educators, we're all doctors, we're all lawyers. So for you to go on MasterChef and want to be a chef,
okay.
You're going against the grain, and you could get flack, as a result of that and be labeled as a rebel, but really you're just responding to the way your divine creator has designed you.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about responding to the divine call and our life's purpose. So let's take a look at that, because I hear a lot of people often say, well, Tiff, I don't really even know my purpose. I don't know how to figure it out. I don't know what God has really created me to do. How would you respond to that question if someone asked you that?
Well, it all starts with a relationship, right? Recognizing, for those of us at least who subscribe to the ideology of Christianity, that God is our divine creator,
yes.
Right? The creator of all things.
Right.
So we're responsible ultimately to him, and he created each and every one of us for a design that serves him for his glory, right?
Yes.
So then, understanding what your purpose is really understanding your relationship to him and understanding, it's like this. I know you. Mm-hmm. You can say something, and while it may seem kind of odd to someone else, because I understand you, I know what you mean by that.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense?
It's relationship.
It's relationship.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a relationship, just like the relationship that I have with my wife, she'll say some stuff to me that in company that sometimes can be uncomfortable for people.
Okay.
But I know she doesn't mean anything by it because of the relationship. So if we don't have that, then it's hard for us to even conceive of what the other person wants, and even more our divine creator wants, if we don't even have the relationship, right?
Correct. And one thing I always like to point out is to build a relationship and to get to know someone, communication must take place.
Absolutely.
So someone may say, well, I don't even know how to hear the voice of God. So you don't recognize that. Is it because you don't communicate with him enough to know when he's speaking? So it's important for us to know that we also have to build that relationship even with our creator to understand why we were created.
That's right.
That's correct. Right.
And so, and this is kind of a side note, but there's this idea that people have identity crises, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yes.
I would submit that they don't really have identity crisis as much as they have image crisis. Because no matter what you are, you know what you are.
Okay.
Take, for instance, the smartest person in the class. Mm-hmm. They will often dumb themselves down because of the image. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're the nerd, you're the this, you're the that. But they know that they're the smartest person in the class. You know that. That's your identity. I am the smartest person in the class.
Wow.
But your image is what you're concerned about. You don't want to be set apart. So then you try to change what you are. And to say that is to say we know what we're naturally bent to do. We know the thing that's always calling us, whether it's interior design, whether it's music, whether it's audio visual, whatever the case might be, we know.
Right.
But it's just, how is that going to look to the general public is what we're concerned about.
Right. And a lot of times we get caught up in what will everyone else think or what would they say.
That's the image.
Instead of saying, okay, ultimately it's about the obedience to our Creator.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that's going to make me the happiest and the most fulfilled. Not what pleases you.
That's correct.
Right.
And I can also testify to that, Tracy. Everybody knows me from doing decorations and weddings and events. Yeah. Well, I really love doing that, but all the time I knew that is my passion, but that is not my calling.
Yeah.
And so you said something very keen in your book, that calling will never leave you alone. And I'm telling you, I tried to get away from counseling for about 8 years. Yeah. I've been going through this whole process. Yeah. And so with the quietness of the pandemic, it resurfaced and here I am again.
Great.
So it's something that we cannot escape.
Yeah. It won't leave you alone. Mm-hmm. It won't leave you alone. And that thing that won't leave you alone is, I would subscribe, your call. Mm-hmm. It is the thing that you were born to do. We have 16-month-old twins, as you know.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And from the time they came out, they had the same personality that they have now. Mm-hmm. And that's true of all of us. That's true of all of us. It will not leave you.
It will not.
So either you can respond to that or you can rebel against it and try to go with the status quo and be unhappy, or just respond to it and live a fulfilled life.
So for the person who still may be a little unsure of what that purpose is and they can't respond because they don't know what it is. So can you share what methods have you embraced? I know you talk about one in your book called Shape.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about how that method can be used to discover purpose.
I think it's a great starting point for those of us who are serious about responding. Rick Warren, in his book, The Purpose-Driven Life, he describes a way that we can somewhat know what our purpose is. And it's the acronym SHAPE. It's our spiritual giftings, our heart, what do we have the passion to do,
That's it.
Our abilities. And I read something in your other room there that says your abilities is the thing that you can do. And it's your personality. If you know you don't like being around people,
yeah.
there are just some things you shouldn't try to do, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And your experience, whether it's your educational experience, your life experiences, or any other experience that you may have. So when you tally all those things up, and that's an exercise that I challenge people with in the book. Just write out your shape. What are you spiritually gifted to do? Okay. You're spiritually gifted to counsel. Even though you can do other things, you can do a lot of things. You can decorate, just transform a place, right?
Thank you, yeah.
You have a heart for people and to see people well and whole. You have the ability to do it. You can speak well. You can interact with people well. You have the personality for it. Okay. And you have the educational experience. So once you tally all of that up, it's like the person that wants to sing, but it's like,
are you really called to do that?
I don't think
so. But sometimes we have to try those things out.
Yeah.
And you're like, nah, I don't think that was it.
And listen to other people.
That's correct.
And listen, somebody said, I don't think
I get it.
And sometimes people other than your family, because
I get it.
they will lie to you.
I get it. And we can, and that's good. We can go ahead and pause here for a second.
Yeah.
So even with purpose, you mentioned in your book as well, and I also know people personally that said, well, you know, I'm trying to walk in my purpose, I'm trying to walk in my calling, but something is just not lining up. Like it's not flowing the way it should. And I just don't know what the next steps are. So it's true. And let's talk about that a little bit of how we may be within our purpose, but not exact on the clarity of it. Meaning that we might be in the area, but for instance, someone might be great at being an architect, but does that make them a great manager of an architect firm? So with that being said, how would someone focus on the clarity of the call and of the purpose?
Okay, so there's something that I challenge leaders with, and that you have to do the work to hone in on the thing that you're called to do.
Okay.
And I use this analogy. I'm a hunter. You can use the shotgun approach, or you can use the rifle approach. The rifle approach is that you have a single projectile that's aimed at a particular target.
Correct.
You have the shotgun, which has many projectiles that you could hit the target, but you're going to tear up some stuff around it.
Yes.
So the greatest example that we have to help us hone in on that is discipleship.
Okay.
That you apprentice yourself to someone in the area that you want to go in.
That's good.
And it has to be someone that has the heart of the creator, that they're not trying to develop you for themselves, but they're trying to develop you so you can be the best you can be, right? So if all that comes together, then they can say, well, I see, in my book, I have a story about a dear friend of mine who was trying to be a pastor.
Correct.
He was not gifted to be a pastor. He was more gifted to be a preacher.
Correct.
Or a public speaker. Once we had the conversation and I pointed some things out to him, it all made sense. And now he's killing it.
Wow.
He shut everything down and he started focusing on that thing. And now he's killing it.
That is awesome. That's a great example of how we have to make sure that we aren't adding to the purpose of the gift.
That's right.
So I think that's an excellent example to show that.
And when we're struggling like that, see, we have grace for every assignment.
Correct.
And so while it may look like a daunting task for some people, we just cruise through it because we have the grace for it. But when we feel that fatigue and we feel the struggle,
yes,
it's time to take notice.
Yes.
And go back and say, let me reassess this.
Yes.
And analyze where I am in this process and do I have the grace to do this?
Yes. And also, we can also examine fruits from certain labors.
That's right.
Yeah. You could also look at it if you're called a purpose to something. It should not be a struggle to do that thing. And you should be able to see positive, good fruit.
That's right.
Bearing from it.
And I say this, don't allow people to judge your strengths by their weaknesses.
Oh, that's good right there. That's good right there.
Because the thing that you have grace for, like I said, it may look like a daunting, it's like, how do you get all this done?
Yes.
And people ask me and my wife. I
get asked that all the time too. Yeah.
You know, because you got a lot going on. It's like, where do you get the energy? I have the grace for it.
Okay.
You know, and grace and blessing is all sufficiency. Right? When you're blessed, you have everything that you need for that assignment.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So the next thing I just want us to highlight is chasing money versus chasing purpose.
Yeah.
And so I want to read this quote that was I love this quote from your book. It says, in many cases, they have canceled their dreams because they do not feel like they can make a transition from what helps them to earn a living to what will catapult them into their dream life. A lot of people can find themselves being able to witness that is where they are currently.
Yeah.
And we have both taken that faith position to actually say, oh, this is going to be so hard, but I know it's necessary. Yeah. I've been through it. You've been through it. Your wife has been through it. So we understand that move is very difficult. But what advice or what way would you give someone that is actually trying to make that transition, but they're a little fearful about it?
Okay. I want to address something that you said or that we talked about earlier. And you said, how do we make that transition safely?
Okay.
And I really like that operative word, safely. So I want to start here, though. For young people that are listening to this, find out what that is early and not build your life around a salary. For people who are already in it, the next book that's coming out is Step Back.
All right.
Run and leap.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Because my personal story, me and my wife's personal story, is that we were on a certain trajectory, but we knew that God had more. And so we were surrounding ourselves with what I was doing, what she was doing, which was not our purpose. So all of our bills, our mortgage, car, everything was surrounded by that. So what we had to do is step back.
Step back for a second.
Okay. What do we need to do to run and leap into where we needed to be? So we had to start paying things off.
That's good.
We had to start reducing things. We had to start reducing certain companies. We had to start reducing certain ideas, right?
Correct.
We had to silence the noise of what other people thought we should be doing. And so once you get a good handle on that, we got a couple books in the queue.
I know.
So one thing is this. The other, this is one that we're going to co-author, and it's called A Relational Leapfrog. And what that is the success for couples, the guide to success for couples. And so if two people are walking together, and they say, "Well, God is calling me to do this. God is calling me to do this." Okay, you say, "Okay, which one is going to settle us sooner?" So this person may have to take a short to propel the next person. So when they get planted, then they can help plant the other person, and you keep being successful that way.
That's good.
That makes sense?
It does. It makes sense.
So every year we get away for about a week around her birthday, 25th of December. And we just strategize for the year. We see where we were last year, what goals we met, what goals God is telling us personally, together, and ministerially. And we plan those things out and say, okay, you're doing this, but if I'm doing this, but it's going to conflict with the timing of this, who goes first? Who's going to settle us first?
That's important.
Right?
And then someone may be watching and saying, oh, well, that's easy when you have two incomes in a house. Well, I just want to let people know that it can be done. That same strategy can be used for a single person.
That's right. That's
the same thing you just mentioned. I had to cut my expensive. No getting nails done. Do your hair at home.
No Gucci bags.
No eating out. All the luxury living. You have to be willing to make that sacrifice so that you can take that leap. Because how I saw it, Tracy, was all those things can be added back later, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends on the seriousness of the move.
Yeah. And they can be added back at a later date.
Yes.
With a greater value.
That is correct. Oh, that's good.
And greater quality.
That's great. That's good.
So we spend all this time trying to drive the Lexuses and Mercedes and all this stuff, and we're really not there yet.
Not there.
Right?
It's a season
and so
for
we
everything.
fight and we hold on to things. This is a real life story that I had the opportunity to counsel someone.
Okay.
And over and over and over again, they were way above their heads with mortgages and all this stuff. And I said, listen, just let it go. I need to hold on. It's going to be shameful for me to lose. I said, listen, it's going to be more shameful because you're going to lose it anyway. But you're adding stress to your life by trying to hold on to something that financially you can't do.
That's right.
So let it go. Inevitably, they lost it anyway.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
But after all of that stress and after all of the late fees and after, just back up.
Just back up, yeah.
Get yourself together. Run, do what you have to do, and then make the leap into purpose.
Yes.
Right?
That is great. And that's a great example because a lot of people do struggle with that. Going back to what you said in the beginning, image. It's all about that image. I don't care how I'm struggling. If I look good on social media, if I can put my mansion on social media, if I can look like I've arrived, if I look like me and my husband, we are doing it.
Photoshop, do whatever we got.
Oh, we are doing it, baby. Look. Yeah. But guess what? Purpose should override.
Absolutely.
Image.
Because that's where satisfaction is going to come in.
Yes.
Completeness and fulfillment.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
That's it. Okay. And one final thing I think we should touch on is looking for validation from people when we know we heard God.
You want to go there?
We need to go there. We need to go there. Yes,
do
sir.
You really want to go there?
Yes, sir, I do.
Oh, man.
Yes, sir. Because I see it so often on social media.
Yeah.
It's like we post and we're just waiting to see how many people are going to embrace what we say the Lord has called us to do. And if we don't get enough likes or shares or watches, we back off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so as a pastor, right? My guide, my ultimate guide is the Holy Scriptures, the Word of God, right? The Bible.
Right.
You cannot find one example. In my research doing this book, you cannot find one example of someone who was called by the divine creator that someone else told them that they were called. And that challenges a lot of people.
Yeah.
That challenges a lot of people.
Right.
Here's the design. God calls you, and then he has people to help you walk it out.
Oh, that's yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's the discipleship part. So we can't find one example, not one, that God called you or somebody else is telling you this is what you should be doing. We can't find one example. So when we know God is calling us to do something, we have to be, and I use the word courageous in the book. We have to make courageous decisions to live out purpose. And it takes courage. Courage is not being fearless. Courage is doing something in the face of fear.
Yes.
So even when your family doesn't agree with it, when the leader of the organization, whatever that might be at work or whatever, doesn't agree, you still have to be courageous enough to walk out that.
Yeah. Like they said, you do it scared.
Yeah.
That's the saying, do it scared.
Every day.
Do it scared.
Do it scared.
And I just want to, I think what woke me up one time is I knew what the Lord was calling me to do. I was certain of it. But we get so caught up in, like we said, our passions
Yeah.
and what's bringing us money and
Yeah.
helping us to provide. And I was talking to this older lady one day, and she said, let me tell you something. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, gifts were given to us to be given to others.
That's it. That's it.
She said, now, if you don't release your gift,
Mm-hmm.
who are you holding up?
Yeah.
Because you won't release it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That thing messed me up.
Yeah.
And from that day forward, I just could not rest. I
Yeah.
was like, oh God. When she said that you're actually holding somebody else up
Yeah.
because they're depending on the gift. So I submit to whoever's watching today, think
Yeah.
about that statement. Really ask yourself that question. Who are you holding up? Because you will not release the gift
Yeah.
that God has given you.
There's a quote that I have in here that says, to the level that you are willing to be obedient
Woo!
is the level in which you would release other people to be free.
Oh, that's good. Ooh, we can end on that. That's good. Because we don't want to give y'all too much. Because I'm going to tell you, but y'all need to buy this book, okay? But buy the book. There is so much more that we can cover. But for the sake of time, we can't. But I'm telling you, I have my copy. You must get it. There's a section on dream killers and time stealers.
Yeah.
You got to get this book. So we're going to end on that
Thank
note.
you.
Tracy, thank you for sharing with us
Yes,
today.
yes.
And we're
Thank you
going to
for having
close
me.
by you telling us how they can purchase the book.
Okay.
And if they want to connect with you on social media, how can they do so?
The book can be purchased on my Facebook page, Tracy Hugie. The links are there. Also on Instagram at Tracy Hugie /Calibrated Men. And also it can be purchased on Amazon.com, the ebook as well as the hard copy.
Well, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today and you sharing some of those nuggets from your book. I'm telling you, the book has blessed my life. And people know me. I don't say that just to say it.
It's an
So
honor.
yes, you guys, please go out and purchase Rebel or Responder by author Tracy Hugie. Thank you for joining us.